Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. Ours is a place where dreams take flight, voices are heard, and stories are shared. This is where cultures meet, connections are formed, and ideas are transformed into action. This is your destination for authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations. We're where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover our world of education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our USA Global TV channel and download our USA Global TV app. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. With heartfelt thanks to our executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, music scored by Yifei Tang from Cloud Road Music, creative direction by Paul Garcia, and I'm Al Cini, and I'm very proud to be part of the USA Global TV and Radio family. So join us here at USA Global TV and Radio. Make us your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication, or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited. Thank you for being a part of our global community. Let's inspire together.
Hello, welcome back to the Compassion Project. If this is your first time joining us, or if you're a returning visitor, I'd like to welcome you to our show today. This is called Full Circle, a roundtable on self-compassion and collective healing. My name is Dr. Danielle Lord, and I am happy to be the hostess of the Compassion Project, where we are recognizing, calling out, and identifying institutionalized trauma so that collectively we can ignite a compassion evolution. But we can only do that if we recognize it, understand it, and then take care of ourselves so that we can begin to take care of others. So welcome in. It's been a really interesting morning. It's been one of those mornings. So we've got a whole litany of things that have transpired. So we're going to hope all those little glitches and bugs are out of the way, and we're going to have a great show. And I am very happy to introduce my roundtable guests today. I'm going to use my PowerPoint, even though my screen would not share. Just one of the fun little things that's happened this morning. So I'm very happy to have a partial roundtable. We've had a couple guests who have had some last minute traumas of their own this morning, so we're going to send them our well wishes. But welcoming back to the show, I think one of my first guests, TRACY PERKINS, author of the Dementia Home Care and USA Global TV and Radio show host herself, host of the Dementia Home Care show. So welcome back, TRACY. Happy to have you as part of the conversation today. Fewer guests, I guess, means more airtime for you. And SEAMUS CORRY, welcome back. Again, returning to the show. SEAMUS has been on the show a couple times, and I love your title, Chief Wellbeing Officer. And I think that this is well-being and wellness. I think there's just a slight distinction between the two, but I love well-being rather than wellness. I think that there's a definite difference in that. SEAMUS is also an author of Rattled Awake and also has a podcast. And coming from us today, all the way from Manchester, welcome back, SEAMUS CORRY. We're so happy to have you returning as well. So I am thrilled to have these two folks joining the show for this really important and powerful conversation. So we were supposed to have a couple other guests, MICHON, GAREMANI, trauma coach and developing caregiver, as I call her. She is now about to be caregiver to mom and mother-in-law. Some medical things that have happened and transpired over the last week with her. So we'll send her all of our best. And then I've got some other folks who wanted to participate, and so they sent some quotes and responses to questions. So I'll interject those throughout the conversation today as well. Just quickly, before we jump into this really important conversation, I wanted to give a quick update. I think it was last March, I had Dr. Christopher Kadoma on the show, and we were talking about some research that he and I were doing collectively on physician leaders. We had another partner and medical doctor, Maria Granzotti, MD. So the data collection is done. I've gone through the thematic coding, and the results are actually really heart-wrenching and very sad. So the combination from the physicians that we interviewed who had transitioned from clinician to leader were disillusioned, helpless, and all struggling through cumulative workplace distress, which is that combination of PTSD, burnout, compassion fatigue, and even moral injury. So I think that's a pretty sad state of affairs for healthcare. So hopefully at some point I can get the two of them on where we can share a little bit more about our findings. All right, but with that in mind, just a quick update, and here we go with our great panel this morning. TRACY, I was telling TRACY before the show started, I had the opportunity to give your book away to a gentleman who works for a client of mine, and his mom had just suffered through a stroke, and she's in a care facility in Louisiana, New Orleans. And I was sharing with TRACY the struggle that this gentleman was going through, now being a newly minted caregiver himself, and the battle that was ensuing between the care facility and Casey's mother. She wanted to sleep on the floor, and the care facility was insisting that she sleep in a bed. And it's just, it's just trauma after trauma after trauma, and particularly in healthcare, which I just find so disheartening. But Seamus, I was thinking of you the other day. Someone was talking about people meditating at work, and reflect back on the story that you shared about the silly CEO who thought it would be a good idea to erect barricades so that team members couldn't see outside and take in the natural light. So, these things are all around us. And I think we unwittingly have all found ourselves as caregivers throughout all of this. And so how do we come to terms with that we are all caregivers, and so that we can collectively heal? So let's TRACY, anything you'd like to add before we get started?
Well, I am actually really looking forward to this discussion. I mean, you've got so many topics to cover here, and I don't even know where to jump in yet.
That's okay. I will lead you blindly down the path. Seamus, anything you'd like to add before we get started? Anything I might have missed in your quick bio there?
Not at all. I think you smashed it out of the park again, Danielle. I think you just know me so well, and it's just so great to be with you here today and with TRACY to, as TRACY says, discuss this amazing topic. And I don't think one segment will be enough. I think this may carry over to another episode, right, TRACY?
Good.
Well, yeah. We'll certainly have to keep the conversation going. And I want to apologize to the audience. For some reason, my camera has gone very dark. So sorry for the lighting if I'm hard to see. So, all right, well, let's get started here. TRACY, because you are kind of our caregiving expert here, working with caregivers and sharing your expertise with caregivers, be they professional caregivers or newly minted caregivers, as you often work with family members. How does practicing self-compassion contribute to healing within families, workplaces, or communities? And Seamus, I know you'll have a lot to add on the workplace, but how does practicing self-compassion contribute to the healing?
Well, I think the first part of it is understanding that we are all grieving as we are caregiving. And if we don't deal with the grief first, it acts as a filter and gets in the way of us allowing ourselves to be compassionate towards ourselves and not managing that grief. I mean, I can speak from personal experience that when my dad moved in with us, I was grieving so hard. I lost out on 18 months of having joyful experiences with him because I wasn't being easy on myself and I wasn't being easy on anyone around me. So it's dealing with that particular aspect first and acknowledging that we're all human and we all have emotions, and then making sure we have support.
Wow, 18 months, that's a long period of time to lose out on, and all of life, right? The life that didn't get lived during those 18 months. So, wow, yeah, that's really profound. And I know, as MICHON would say, we're all in a unique experience, living a unique experience every single day. It's something different. And these are things that we don't often, there's no real manual, of course, until you wrote the manual on how to do it. But it's like being a parent for the first time, right? There's not a manual that comes with it. And every situation is entirely unique as well. So, thank you for that. Seamus, what would you add? I know you do a lot in workplaces. So how do you see this self-compassion? Do we have people practicing self-compassion in the workplace yet? Or what are you seeing? What are you experiencing?
Yeah, it's a very interesting cultural shift that's happening, particularly with workplaces I'm working with and supporting at the moment. Post-pandemic, there seems to be a shift away from the traditional viewpoint of just producing and performing, but actually more about leadership teams having really in-depth conversations with staff teams in order to understand how the dynamics of teams and how they work, but also the personal dynamics of individuals and what might be happening in their own lives. And I think I would say it's really in its infancy in terms of the work that I've done, and it's really exciting to see. But there seems to be an element now of more compassion coming into the workplace, where, or even a greater understanding of the difficulties that individuals might be facing, which may affect productivity and performance, which then allows leadership teams to put effective supports in place. And I think Tracy hit the nail on the head. I think you can only do that when you recognize and take care of yourself first. You can't fill from an empty cup, right? And you can't work, when you yourself are being so hard on yourself. So it's about, and for me, it's about working with leadership teams to help them and support them to understand that we're all human beings together. And if we lead from a standpoint of compassion, then what will follow will be happier staff, a more motivated staff, a staff that will want to stay, but obviously staff that will perform and produce, to the best of their ability, because they'll feel heard, they will feel seen, and they will feel understood.
Yeah, wow. I am so thrilled to hear that that's been your experience across the pond, as they say. And I'm hoping that maybe over there in your neck of the woods of, England, Ireland, Scotland, and the areas that you work, that maybe they will be leading the way. Because this is not occurring yet in the United States. And this is something I rail on all the time, is that we have got to get out of this mindset of productivity and task and focus on the human, because we're not going to move the needle unless we do.
We spoke about that the last time, Danielle, and I really feel that, in the States at the moment, and particularly in your neck of the woods, there's a real element of fear, a real element of anxiety, and a real element of stress currently within the modern workplace element within the United States of America. And what I've heard from my colleagues in the States and those who work in wellness in the States is that there can be no starter for 10 at the moment while that stress, fear, and anxiety takes hold. So initially, that needs to be dealt with, and I'm more than happy, and I stand ready, people of America, for those who wish to listen will listen, and for those who wish to do will do. To come and support those leadership teams who want to do it slightly different, but with the current circumstances in the States, it's particularly difficult. I think it's a little bit different over here, that we are now post-pandemic. We are now, in a post-pandemic world, and leadership teams, and particularly those that I've worked with and continue to support and work with over the past number of years, now see the importance of bringing into play not only key performance indicators, but actually discussions around wellness, well-being, discussions around good mental health, discussions and conversations around, self-care and how we look after ourselves, all of which lead to that wonderful energy of compassion and self-compassion that I think, as I say, it's in its infancy. It hasn't taken hold fully. But as I go around organizations I work with, I can certainly see the change in terms of conversation.
That's fantastic news. That really is good news. And I think maybe you're a smaller microcosm there in Britain. So hopefully you'll be able to lead the way and give us some really positive results. So I'm excited about that.
I hope so. And as I say, Danielle, I stand ready to support organizations in the States if they feel they wish to pursue that. But again, I think stress, anxiety, and fear needs to be dealt with in the first instance, because a lot of people are being really hard on themselves. I mean, you only have to hear on a day-to-day basis. What is it now? 16,000 ICE agents going into workplaces and just picking people out and removing them. I mean, that in itself creates a pandemic of fear and anxiety and worry for people. Not to mention focus on productivity and performance. You know, and again, that presents its own difficulties. And like you say, it's trauma upon trauma upon trauma. You know, when do we stop this? When do we begin to reverse this? And as I say, happy to say that you know, when leadership teams take responsibility and act compassionately, you know, then from that arises a wonderful workplace culture.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you for that. Tracy, what would you say is the biggest myth about self-compassion?
That is a really good question.
That's a humdinger, Tracy.
It is.
Oh, don't worry, Seamus. You'll get your opportunity too.
I'll put the buffer up here. No, but that is a really great question, because most of us get in our own way. That I mean, if you think about it, we put up all these barriers and we don't even recognize that they're there. And until we can see beyond that point, whether it's something that happened to us or for us, it's hard to get beyond those barriers. So I would say part of it is knowing that there is something there that we are preventing ourselves or blocking ourselves from doing. Going back to me talking about grief, or what Seamus was saying about the fear and the anger, all of that is part of it. And you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So it's always baby steps. And it's also, we fear failure so much that we don't give ourselves permission to learn. I remember watching you and MICHON talking about, I think it was your very first episode actually, and she was talking about how to, you know, increase her compassion and the steps that she was taking. And it struck me because it was like, most of us don't even realize that's a thing. We don't realize that we can be compassionate to ourselves. We're so locked into the fear, the anxiety, what's going on around us. We crawl into ourselves and we don't have a chance to look out and realize that we're our own light.
Wow, that's beautifully said. I think it's also very similar to the idea that we don't recognize this idea of level 2 trauma, which is what I'm always talking about, that it is repeated, prolonged instances of a kind of interpersonal nature that comes at us, which is more mental and emotional. Like trauma, we think of it as being an event that impacts us physically. So I think it's similar in that we don't recognize it until there's a physical event that's occurred, versus that, gosh, I'm feeling really stressed, I'm overwhelmed. We just kind of tend to brush that aside, I think, sometimes. So Seamus, what comes to mind for you? Thank you, Tracy. What comes to mind for you, Seamus, when you think about this idea of what gets in the way?
I think noise gets in the way, Danielle, and there's a lot of noise out there at the moment. And, you know, I think we live in a world now where we live in 24 hours a day media, you know, across many different platforms. You can leave the TV on now 24 hours a day and you'll get it repeated and repeated and repeated. And when we do see those images, you know, that we see, we do see those parts of the world that are ripped asunder with conflict, you know, and the results of that conflict, then, you know, surely as human beings, we are traumatized by that, and we feel helpless, we feel fearful. When our leaders stand up and you know, they threat and they bully and they harass, you know, and leaders are expected to lead, and leaders are expected to lead with compassion. And when you don't have compassionate leadership at the highest levels in society, then people begin to worry, then people begin to get fearful, then people begin to get anxious, then people begin to get stressed. And there's a little red button in our remote controls, and there's a little red button in our TVs, that we can switch off. And when we switch off to the noise, we can begin to concentrate ourselves and focus in on ourselves and find out what's important for us, and begin to focus on that. We won't be able to do anything about the global conflict. We won't be able to do anything about the national or international conflicts or issues that are in play. But we can actually do quite a lot about how we respond to that. And if we respond with compassion and self-compassion, then it will go a long way to healing the trauma that, honestly, on a day-to-day basis, you just have to, as I said, switch on your TV screens or turn on the radio, and be traumatized all over again.
Yeah, which then you have to wonder, is there intentionality behind that, right? I mean, all for the almighty dollar of, right, the advertising dollars and the ratings that come when you have people that are buying into that, and it's just self-perpetuating the trauma.
Absolutely.
But I want
to, can I also say, Tracy mentioned joy, and she didn't experience joy for 18 months as a result of experience she had herself. There seems to be a situation, certainly in the States at the moment, where comedy and joy seems to be, it seems to be threatened at the moment. That you cannot laugh, you cannot joke, you cannot make fun. And when that begins to happen to the leading comedians who, let's just say, and I'm not going to mention any show specifically, but let's just say the biggest show that for decades has led America, is now suddenly being, cut as a result of comments potentially being made against the current administration. You have to wonder where we're going in society if joy and comedy and fun is being ruled out of certain elements of society. What are we turning into? What are we becoming? What are we becoming? Are we becoming just a series of human doings and not human beings, where we get in touch with the true nature of who we are? Or are we just being led? Are we asleep to what's really happening here?
Yeah, joy is a huge part of it. That is for certain. But I want to go back to something that you mentioned, Seamus, which is conflict in the workplace. And we, don't always see it from leaders. Sometimes it comes from within the team. So Dr. Amber Tischner, I invited her to be part of the conversation today. She couldn't make it. She had her mom flying in, but she sent a quote. Of course, Dr. Amber is the author of Behind Frenemy Lines, and she looks at female to female violence within the workplace. And she says that people rarely talk about the mean girl behaviors that occur at work. They're quite real, and it's rare to meet a woman who hasn't been affected by it. The deeper implication is to address and understand why these behaviors exist. And I think that's exactly what we're doing today. What is the self-inflicted trauma that's causing women to not like themselves and in turn lash out to other women? Well, these ugly behaviors shouldn't be tolerated on any level. They definitely need to be talked about to raise awareness and find ways to overcome them. So there we go. A little note from Dr. Amber there. But again, it goes back to that idea of the workplace violence. It doesn't just happen from leadership, unfortunately, but leadership allows it to happen when they turn their back to it and allow it to continue. Yeah,
and they become complicit in the act and therefore responsible for its occurrence. And I don't know what health and safety laws are like in the United States, but certainly in the United Kingdom, the leadership team are responsible for the health and safety of all its workforce. And if they are complicit in allowing conflict among staff teams occur and be maintained, then it becomes a really difficult issue to try and sort out until somebody steps in, like an independent well-being and mental health consultant, and as it were, sorts it all out.
Yeah, and we used to, back in the 50s, we used to have industrial organizational psychologists, IOP, which actually a lot of my doctoral work was done in that same field. And we got to a point where we no longer had those individuals in the organization. And it's really unfortunate. I think I'd like to see a return to that. Even my work in organizational development, organizational behavior is oftentimes met with, the spate of crickets and blank stares. What exactly do you do with, without any real understanding on this? But
you're absolutely right, and it requires a holistic approach. It requires that we have the supports available, to workforces, whether that be health, whether that be dental, whether that be physical. But we also need those emotional supports in place to counteract some of the behaviours that are currently happening in the workplaces today.
Yeah, and an EAP, an employee assistance program with here's your 3 visits, it's just not enough.
It really isn't. It really isn't. It's just playing to the masses, as it were, saying we're providing this. Here's another badge, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, it's a way to pat themselves on the back. But let me move on to another question here, because we only have 10 minutes left, if you can believe it.
I told you, Danielle. I warned you right at the top of the hour.
You did, and we knew that this was going to be our challenge. So, Tracy, over to you again here. What is one piece of practical advice that you would suggest or give to someone who's ready to begin their own journey or participate in collective healing?
Oh, I have a couple things. First of all, we were talking earlier about laughter. Definitely, laughter is very, very important if you're going to take some downtime for yourself. Something else I practice is called 2RS. It's respectful, responsible, and safe. It's playground rules. So I always ask my question to myself before I do something. Is what I'm about to say respectful? Is it responsible? Is it safe? If it's not, then don't do it. If I don't know the answer, it means I really do know the answer and I shouldn't do it. So I use that also to prevent me from hurting somebody unintentionally. Again, this is something I learned while I was caregiving, but also giving yourself downtime. Even if it's just 5 minutes to walk away, to have even if you're locking yourself in the bathroom and doing a visualization exercise, whatever it is, just to give yourself a moment to breathe and get your heart rate back under control and your blood pressure down.
I think those are amazing pieces of advice. And I think that the respectful, responsible, and safe, that's a great question to ask yourself internally. And I think a lot of people hide behind that anonymity of the screen. And I think they get a lot of satisfaction and joy, if you will. I know that's not the right word, but I think there's a lot of people who get some degree of satisfaction out of sending zingers through their phone. So respectful, responsible, and safe. Is that it? I love it. But then also, to the great point that Seamus made, hit that red button. If you're going to take the downtime, don't use it to get sucked into the negativity of the news.
Or your phone, because a lot of people now have their work emails on the phone. So we gotta create space to separate ourselves from digital platforms. It's necessary. It's necessary to reconnect with who we are and who we are with ourselves, but who we are with one another. So if we're constantly surrounded by the distraction of digital media, then we won't have a chance to do that. And I concur with everything Tracy has said. I think we got to look after ourselves. We got to take time for us if we need it, and we got to get rid of the distractions when they present themselves.
Yeah, and the only way to do that is to have that space where you can go outside or go into the bathroom and completely decompress. That does not include something that's going to contribute to even more stress. So Anika, who is going to be with us today. So Anika Klix, she's a mindfulness coach, and she's also my co-author of Focused Moments, the second edition. And so Anika said, we have to start with ourselves. We have to start meditating, journaling, getting in touch with our thoughts and feelings. And that's the first real step to collective healing. And just as Tracy and Seamus mentioned, step away from the noise. But I think where Anika took this into teaching kids how to meditate, and that's that whole idea of mindfulness, right? Is just stepping back from the noise that Seamus mentioned and be with yourself for a few minutes. I remember reading a long time ago, if you can't spend 30 minutes alone, you're way overstressed and you're overwhelmed. So we've got to be able to find a way to spend 30 minutes with ourselves and like ourselves and be happy. So teaching kids this practice, science has shown the benefits of mindfulness and meditation. That's so true in reducing stress, anxiety, and overwhelming. And I think our kids right now are really experiencing it. And if we continue to hardwire the brain this way, we're just going to have a complete state of stress and anxiety like nothing we've ever seen before. So we've got to get kids involved in their own self-care around this. So absolutely. With that, and throw it back over, we've got literally just a few minutes left. So if you could send one message to anyone listening, what would it be, Seamus?
Switch off to switch on.
Switch off to switch on. That's really simple and concise and powerful. Switch off to switch on. I love that. Yeah. Thank you. TRACY.
I don't know how to follow that. That's so awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Seamus. It's just that I just, I hear that and I'm like going, that's way better than what I was going to say. So, but it is.
You can have it, TRACY.
Okay. I'll give you credit. Oh, but really, for me, it was learning how to take downtime and just giving myself permission, because there's sometimes you're so overwhelmed, you have so many things piling on, so many responsibilities, that if you don't take that time to breathe, mindful breathing, as Seamus said, take away from the noise. And we have to be our own light. We have to choose to walk into that light, and then it spreads. So make sure that you spread that joy and that laughter with others.
Yeah, that is a powerful statement, to spread that light. I refer to it, well, I can't own this. I didn't claim it or make it up, but I refer to it as the daily dose. A lot of people do. So again, I didn't make it up. And the dose is dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And those are the things that create those happy brain chemicals in our brain that keep us in that state of feeling good and feeling happy. And that does not come from this, which is my cell phone that I'm holding up. It does not come from screen time. But I think we're seeing, I was just talking with a psychiatrist last week about the kids entering the workforce. And we're seeing a lot of complaints from leaders who are saying, I can't get this generation off their phone. Well, because that's all they knew during all the COVID lockdowns, that's where they got their daily dose, was from their phone. And so we need to find ways to give them more sustained long-term dopamine effects rather than the quick lasting dopamine effect that they're going to get from their phone. So the daily dose, really important. Cat videos. I swear by cat videos. They will make you laugh every single time. But Seamus, how can folks find you in our final minutes here?
Yeah, they can absolutely find me. Danielle would be delighted to hear that I'm across digital media platforms at the moment, and we've been talking about switching off the digital media. But if people want me, they'll find me at just type into your Google search seamuscorry.co.uk, and you'll get all my knowledge and information. I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, to name but a few other platforms, as well as US Global TV as well, the best US Global TV site in the world. So that's where you'll find me.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your insights and wisdom. It was so good to see you, and I hope that we can see you again at another time soon.
Absolutely. TRACY, you and I should connect, by the way. We have something going on here. I think we have a collaboration pending.
I would love it.
Think so. Yeah. I think so.
I would love it. I've got your email now.
I've got yours.
Tracy, how can folks find you and your great work? And like I said, I was just thrilled to give away my only copy of your book, so I'll be in need of another one here, but I was happy to share that. But how can folks find you and your great work and what you do for folks with dementia and our caregivers?
Well, you can connect with me at my website at TRACYCRAMPERKINS.com. I have over 150 resources available for caregivers. You can also sign up for my email, for my newsletter, and get 10 steps to calming aggressive dementia behavior. If you want to connect with me online, I'm available through Facebook and on LinkedIn and occasionally on Instagram. And I also have a show here, the Dementia Home Care Show here on USA Global TV and Radio, and you can see the past episodes on our playlist. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Wow. Well, this was a really powerful conversation, and I just will leave with this message that trauma is really all around us. And hopefully from today's conversation, we highlighted how it just compounds oftentimes without us even really realizing that we're kind of in the soup, in the stew, if you will. So the best way through this is to just keep going and through self-compassion, which is different than self-care. And I'm starting to see this term used more and more often, and I'm thrilled to see that we're starting to see self-compassion used over self-care. So continue to take care of yourself so we can take care of one another as we all become global collective caregivers, so that we can ignite a compassion evolution. So thank you so much for being a part of the conversation today. Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline, our producer, and USA Global TV and Radio, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents TRACY CRAM PERKINS, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TRACYCRAMPERKINS.com. Tracy Cram Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
In a world full of noise, misunderstandings, and interruptions, master the art of listening with Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor of USA Global TV and Radio and the Amazon #1 best-selling author of Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening. Elevate your listening. Elevate your life. Join a global learning experience in person or via Zoom. Reserve your spot today. usaglobaltv.com/book-your-session or drjacqueline.thinkific.com. Join Dr. Kerbeck's listening courses or hire her to unlock deeper connections and authentic conversations.
We face daily cyber risks, spending over 7 hours of screen time, including 4.5 hours on mobile phones. This convenience comes with significant dangers, with cybercrime costs predicted to exceed $10.5 trillion by 2025. In 2023 alone, seniors lost over $3.4 billion to cybercrime. Our goal is to make social engineering concepts of cybersecurity easier to understand. We work with business teams, senior living facilities, investment companies, and educational institutions both individually and in groups. We offer real-life examples to help you recognize and prevent attacks, with sessions available both in person, in selected regions, and remotely. Schedule your training session, or to learn more, contact us today. Call us at 847-845-9360. Email us at info@cybersecurityeasy.com. Protect your team and family with cybersecurityeasy.com.
Get ready to wear the brand that's changing the world of media. Introducing the official USA Global TV and Radio online store. From our TV show hosts to our incredible global guests, you asked, we delivered. Rep your appearance with pride. Whether you've been on air, hosted a show, or tuned in, we have something just for you. Visit us at usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com and start shopping today. Check back frequently. We're dropping fresh new designs all the time. Showcase your role in our global community. These designs celebrate your voice, your story, your presence. It's more than just merchandise. It's a movement of hope, inspiration, education, and elevated listening. Head to usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com. Your spotlight awaits. USA Global TV and Radio. Elevate your style. Elevate the world.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.